My voice active and my nose from running off the sides of the pulpit here. We'll preach to this thing, but I assure you I have an allergy. I'm pretty sure it's mold due to excessive moisture in the air. I don't know where that would come from, but I am dealing with that. So before I get started, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you this evening for the opportunity to come in your house, to gather in the name of Jesus. And in some small way, Father, to praise you, to glorify you, to honor you. We're going to break open the bread of life.
Yes.
And can I just say, Father, thank you for this book.
That's right. Amen.
So much in it, Father. I would have thought in 6 years I could have preached it all, Lord. I don't think I've scratched the surface.
Yes.
It's a living book. And we praise you for it and every word in it.
Yes.
And I ask, God, that you guide us tonight as we study your word tonight and some aspects of it. We went through the chapter this morning, Father. We thank you and praise you for the message that you brought this morning, the teaching therein, that you may call upon us to put our lives on the line for what we say we believe.
That's
and that is in you and in Jesus Christ. You call us not to be like the world, but to be separated from the world. And various other things. We thank you for that. But tonight, Father, we look for some evidence from your word of the things that you say took place. So I pray, God, first and foremost, that you would guard my heart, guard my mind, and as always, guard my mouth. Let nothing come forth from me, Lord, except that which you have come forth. Because this is your service and this is your message. You preach it, Father, and let me just be a vessel.
Yes.
Bless us with your word now, Father. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so tonight I anticipate a short message. I don't expect to be here at 7 o'clock, to be honest with you. But I could be wrong. I've said that before, and we're way over. So I'm going to cover a lot of data and a lot of dates and some history, some events, so on like that, I think. I'll try not to bore you. But it's important that you understand why there is no archaeological evidence of an Exodus as recorded in the Bible. It's important. Okay, so how many of y'all just heard me say there is no Exodus? Okay, got one or two of you, okay? What I said again is that it's important that you understand why there is no archaeological evidence of an Exodus as recorded in the Bible. Now, we understand that if it's recorded in the Bible, it's true. So we know there was an Exodus. What we don't understand is why isn't there archaeological evidence of it? Okay? So, this particular, in the Jewish world, this is called Parasha Shemot. Or Parsha meaning the reading of Shemot. They don't call this the Exodus. Even though they refer to it as the Exodus, the book itself in the Torah is called the Shemot. And if you look at chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "Now these are the names of the children of Israel." The word names, these are the names. That is Eli or Elel Shemot in Hebrew. So therefore this book is the Shemot. And if you get in various places through Genesis or Exodus or even into the books, and there's a change in topic or subject, they'll name that Parsha according to the first word or first main word in there. Just like some of the other Parshas that we cover. So this is the Parsha Shemot. So the question is, did the Exodus really happen? And how do we know? There are, because I haven't studied all the data, I can't say how many people are for the Exodus and how many are against it. But I can tell you there's a lot of people that don't believe the Exodus never occurred. A lot of archaeologists. I heard one Jewish rabbi talk about the fact that there's not any evidence of the Exodus and things like that. But God promised, you may recall back in Genesis, God promised Abraham a series of things multiplication of his seed and a promised land, things like that. So this guy named Tim Mahoney, he kind of got questioned on whether the Exodus happened or not. So he set out on what was supposed to be a 1-year journey to create a 1-hour documentary on evidence of the Exodus. That turned into about a 6-year project, I think, or a 16-year project, I think, if I remember correctly. And it's a 2-hour documentary. And Mr. Wicks can go back there and hit play on the thing back there and show you about a 3-minute trailer on that thing. And this is a copy of it. And for $100, I can show it to the church. And it's 2 hours long. There is a follow-up to this called The Evidence of Moses, or the Moses Controversy, which I also own. I actually own 3 copies of this, and a very, 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 very large book on it. So full of pictures and readings and stuff like that. So let's look at this 3.5-minute video, and then we'll proceed from there.
The whole thing, from the beginning of the sojourn in Egypt, the slavery, Moses and the Exodus, the conquest of the Promised Land, is all there in one nice, neat line, but it's way too early.
I don't believe there was a single event that we can call the Exodus.
This person can't have seen all this. He imagined it.
I'm very much against chronological revisionism.
There is nothing else like this in the whole of Egyptian history. Nothing at all.
When you put those cities side by side, the biblical account and the archaeology match extremely well.
So far, there's no documented evidence about the Exodus.
Exodus did not happen in the way that it is described in the text.
How can we prove that?
You look for a collapse in Egyptian civilization, and that's where you find Moses and the Exodus.
If we can prove there even was an Exodus.
I think everybody in the field is biased, one way or another.
Whether it was true, it is true. And those are 2 different things.
There's a high probability that we're looking here at Joshua's conquest.
I hate to disappoint people, but we have no evidence for a single mass migration of people from one country coming into another country.
There are no archaeological sources that could prove this took place.
We have no evidence.
If people are telling us that there was no Jericho at the time that Joshua conquered the Promised Land, and therefore Joshua is a piece of fiction, and therefore the conquest is a piece of fiction, why don't we ask the simple question, when was Jericho destroyed?
In terms of reconstructing ancient history, a lot hinges on the answers.
Do you think this is Joseph?
Either it is Joseph or it's somebody remarkably the same.
We have tombs that are clearly those of foreigners, Semites. We can tell this by the pottery, by the kind of weapons. These are non-Egyptian type daggers. They have donkeys in some cases buried with them. This was not an Egyptian practice.
This is real evidence for the time when the Israelites were in Egypt as slaves.
We were slaves? Why? I mean, if you're going to dream up a story, surely you'd come up with a better one than that.
Look at your evidence and come to a conclusion based on the evidence.
So you have a connection between the Bible story and these tablets.
We have a name that's identical. We have a tablet coming out of the ground with the name Jabin on it. And in the story of Joshua, Joshua killed King Jabin of Hatzor.
Why is it that we've never heard these files?
Because in the scheme that's used by scholars to date all these events, they're way too early.
We may be wrong 10 years here, 10 years there, but there's no way to shift centuries.
Yes, it would undo a lot of their folks, wouldn't it?
It certainly was, yes.
Real quick, hit pause on that. Can you back that up just a little bit? Back over here. Just click about where calm is. Keep sliding. Now slide up to the red line. Now keep coming back towards me until you see that wall. Now let go of the dot. Slide the miles. Keep coming. Come on.
Faster.
Yeah, faster. There you go. Keep coming. I want that wall of dates. Right there. A little bit more. Right there. Yeah. So click there and just leave it just like that. Don't do anything. Okay. Okay, is anyone intrigued at all? Okay. Because I like documentaries, but I like documentaries that capture my attention. Right. Not just any documentary is good. This documentary is insanely good. I mean, absolutely insanely. Has anybody here heard of this? Wow. Like I said, I own 3 copies and a great big book. It's so fascinating. The reason I own 3 copies is because there's 2 in here, a Blu-ray and a DVD. And this actually comes with 3 or 4 extra discs, extra data, extra information. Interviewing a panel of would-be theologians or those people that are important in that world, knowledgeable anyway. So here's the thing. Here's 6 facts that Mahoney came up with. He says, the things God promised Abraham form 6 major events of the Exodus that we should be able to prove. Okay, archaeologically speaking, they should be able to be proved. Number 1 is the arrival of the descendants of Abraham into Egypt. There should be evidence of their leaving the land of Canaan and coming into Egypt. Other than the Bible, they're talking about in the dirt. Number 2, a multiplication of people. All right? There should be evidence within the ground of Egypt. Man, I'm going to struggle with that. That says there is a large group of non-Egyptian people here. Their bones, their whatever. Okay? Number 3, there should be evidence of slavery. Big one. There should be evidence of a judgment against Egypt. Right? The problem is, everybody doesn't write like the Jews wrote. The Jews and the people that wrote the Bible did what? They wrote it in a truthful manner. They said in there that David was a murderer and an adulterer, did they not? Yet David is way up here, right? Okay? They called it like it was. The Egyptians aren't going to record that a bunch of slaves caused an economic collapse of their economy, left, and then caused their army, which was the rulers of the world at the time, to drown. They're just not going to record that. But there still ought to be evidence of a judgment against the people. Number 5, there ought to be evidence of an exodus out of Egypt. And number 6, there ought to be evidence of a conquest of the land. Now, you heard it yourself in that little trailer. The events are way too early. The events that they have uncovered are way too early for the biblical account. The one lady said, there is no evidence. That was a bona fide doctor, somebody, archaeologist. One guy said plainly, did not happen. One guy said, if we could prove. Okay, whatever. Then there was the guy that said, whether it was true or not, it is true. That's the Jewish rabbi who says it's not true. It didn't happen. The Exodus didn't happen. That's where he stands. But he says that's okay because it's in the Bible and it's true for an application or something like that. I forget exactly how he puts it. You just sit there and you just kind of, it's one where you just kind of cock your head and you look at them real funny, like, did you really just say that? It's that kind of thing. So, the question is, all these archaeologists First of all, they can't all be wrong, right? I mean, theoretically speaking. I mean, that's what they do. These are smart people. They're smarter than me and you on that level anyway. So how or why do they say the things that they say? So I'm going to give you some dates and try to help you. And the picture, now you need to understand, I had to watch that portion of the movie 4 or 5 times. I had to get in the book. I had to get in my Bible. I had to get in the chronological Bible, Tim, that you and I have read through. And I had to start writing. And I'm just, trying to connect dots so that I can grasp what they're trying to tell me. The first guy you see is Tim Mahoney, and he's talking with David Roll. And David Roll is an he's an English Egyptologist. He's a smart guy from England. How's that? Okay. And he's introduced the problem to the world. And he's starting to get listeners. Guys like Mahoney and some other people. All right, the Exodus occurred when? 1446 BC, biblically speaking. All right? That's when the Exodus occurred. They entered the Promised Land when? 1406. Keeping in mind that BC does what? It counts backwards. So we leave Egypt in 1446, we wander around for 40 years, and then we enter the Promised Land in 1406. When was Jericho conquered?
1406.
Roughly 1406. They went into the Promised Land. First thing they did was conquer Jericho. When you watch the video, did you see the wall fall? That was Jericho. I mean, they do some awesome graphics in this video that let you see how that wall crushed and how it burned and what they've undug. They've undug that. They've unearthed it. I'm not sure undug is right. Listen, we're going to there. They unearthed it. They dug it up. They found that city, y'all. They found the city, a huge city, with the walls collapsed. Except for one small portion. Yeah, that's what I was waiting on. I was waiting on amen. I was waiting on wow. And of course, to this one portion that didn't fall, it didn't burn, it's standing there, was a home attached to it. It was within the wall of the wall. I forget how to put it. It's fascinating to watch. The archaeologists say that event took place in 1550 BC. 1550 BC is over here. The Exodus occurred in 1446, which is 100 years later. That's not possible, is it? It's not possible for us because we know that in the Bible there was an Exodus and then there was a defeat of Jericho. All right. Egyptian history is set up in dynasties and kingdoms. And I'll break down the dynasties. But the kingdoms are the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom, which is essentially, now you don't see it in that, but that's okay. There's the Old Kingdom, whose dates are 2575, counting down to 2150. There's a Middle Kingdom, which is 2050, down to 1652. Some people are writing, the reason I'm talking slow. And there's the New Kingdom, which is 1550 to 1000 BC, or the 16th century to the 11th century. Again, it doesn't show it in this one, and I don't have the book and I don't have the graphics. The DVDs doesn't give me the opportunity to take graphics and put them into a PowerPoint for you. But listen to this. The Old Kingdom ended in 2150. The Middle Kingdom began in 2050. It means there's 100 years right in here that's not explained. And when you get between the middle and the new, there's another period of 100 years that's not explained. This is referred to as dark ages, but not the dark ages that we're talking about in school. It's the dark periods, or also known as the intermediate periods. Okay, those days fall between these kingdoms. All right. We read the scripture this morning. We read through chapter 1 of Exodus. All right. Verse 11 of chapter 1, Exodus 1 says, "Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses." This is the problem scripture right here. Okay. I'm going to come back to that. So what kind of evidence do we have? Well, we have a tomb believed to be the tomb of Joseph. Did you see that in the film? That's real. It's there. That statue, it's there. It's not as colorful, but it's there. And it's in a community where the architectural designs are Semitic rather than Egyptian. Okay? Goshen. Y'all remember where Goshen is? You take Egypt, you run it down there to the ocean, you got the green fertile, that's Goshen. Well, they've unearthed a city called Avaris, which is underneath a city called Ramesses. It's under it. You see, when it says here in the Bible, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses, the Bible is inferring a location, not an actual city. It happened where Ramesses is. Okay, because the people that he's writing to know where the city Ramesses is. It's that kind of thing, right? Like it would be, you couldn't go up north and say, President George Washington was born right here. Because President George Washington wasn't born right there. A little fellow named George was born right there. That kind of thing. But only on a greater scale. So they found the city. It's called Avaris. Had a 25,000+ people population. 25,000 people population. And they've unearthed it. They found evidences of shepherds and Canaanite people. Or people who, as you saw, buried themselves with their mules, and you saw the various tools, the daggers. They've unearthed this stuff. But the timeline is hundreds of years before Ramesses. So it's not this. Kind of hard to believe that somebody would say that, but that's what they're saying. It's not this because the timeline's wrong. Well, here's the thing. They have Pharaoh, and they have Ramesses. Therefore, the time period must be during the time period of Pharaoh Ramesses. Okay? Y'all with me? Tracking with me? Because I can say it again. By the way, there were 11 pharaohs named Ramesses. So what do you do with that? All right. So the reason none of the years match up is because Egyptian chronology is off. Now, Rose says it's off by about 300 years. There was a Russian-born psychologist living in New York that wrote a book. I don't remember what year he wrote the book, but he's well deceased. It's called Age in Chaos. And in his book, he claimed that there needed to be a major shift of 600 years in the chronology of Egyptian history. It needed to shift 600 years. Well, nobody pays any attention. Nobody listened to him or considered it valid what he wrote. Why? Well, he's a Russian-born psychologist living in New York, and he has no training in archaeology. And they have various reasons for dismissing him other than that. Now, David Roll, the English Egyptologist and historian, he's saying the shift should be 200 to 300 years. And like I said, people are starting to listen. So if they do this, shifting the Egyptian Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom, along with, you may recall, the Middle Bronze Age. Y'all remember the Bronze Age in school? It was the Middle Bronze and Late Bronze Age. I remember everything about it. Well, not really. I don't remember how to spell bronze, but I remember they talked about it. So they want to move the whole, Roe wants to shift it 200 or 300 years. If they do that, okay, on the top is the Bible. In the green is the coming in, and the red is the conquering. I don't remember the various ones in the other two. I meant to bring my book, so I have it up there, but I forgot it. But that's the events of the Exodus. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 events that I mentioned just a moment ago. Over here, on the bottom line, is the dates of the stuff that they're finding. All right? Rose says we need to shift, not the Bible. Oh, by the way, did I mention he's agnostic? Yeah, he's agnostic. Brother, wait, would you hit just a little play button there? Or you can just hit the space bar. I think it'll just start playing if you hit the space bar.
That's used by scholars to date all these events. They're too early.
Did you see what happened? They want to shift the Egyptian chronology. Nobody wants to do that. At least nobody in Egypt. Why not?
They lost.
Well, let's put it another way. Nobody in the archaeological world wants to shift the chronology of Egypt.
Because they've been wrong.
Exactly. And that in and of itself has many ramifications. How many books do you think have been written based on the, let's just call it the wrong chronology? All those books become useless. They become useless. I can't find a better word. And they have to admit that they were wrong. Not just the guys that are here today. They have to admit that the people before them were wrong. The dead people. The dead archaeologists. The ones that are held in high revere. It doesn't just affect Egypt, though. Egypt chronology is the benchmark from which all the other countries' chronology is based. It's like what must have happened when the Red Sea, when God withdrew his hands from the Red Sea, and it just went boom. A lot of places got wet, didn't they? That must have just been a whole bunch of water going everywhere. Same thing here. It just messes everything up. So they don't really want to do that. But keep in mind, there's no mention of the Pharaoh's name in here. It says in verse 8, now there arose a new king over Egypt which knew not Joseph. It doesn't give us his name. And like I said, they have 11 of them. So mentioning the 2 cities, it just doesn't nail down a time period. The Bible in itself, we have the chronology of the Bible because we can track the Bible back from the time of Rome backwards. That's how we did it. And so we have what we believe the correct dates. So just because the archaeologists and the Egyptian archaeologists and the rest of the archaeologists in the world have it wrong doesn't make the Bible wrong. And it doesn't mean that we have to reinterpret the Bible like that one Jewish rabbi was doing. We don't have to reinterpret the Bible for what it says on marriage. We don't have to reinterpret the Bible for what it says on sin. We don't have to reinterpret the Bible for what it says on homosexuality. What we have to do is be transformed by the renewing of our minds. If something's not lining up with the Bible, guess what's not right? The something.
That's right.
The Bible's right. The Bible's never been proven to be wrong. What's been proven to be wrong over time is stuff like this. So now you got Tim Mahoney and you got David Rowe, and they're mustering a following, for lack of a better word. A lot of people are listening, and a lot of people are looking, and they actually have at this time archaeologists sitting around the table from various countries, and they're debating whether they can or should or will shift that chronology. And by the way, the fact that Hollywood made a movie doesn't make the facts in the movie right. Okay? Because in the movie, they have a pharaoh, and he's Ramses the pharaoh. He's Ramses the second or third. I forget which particular Ramses he is. But he's the one that puts it all, makes the whole shift wrong. Okay? All right. So, with that said, that's the essence of tonight's lesson. So that you understand why there's no archaeological evidence. Well, first of all, there is archaeological evidence. The archaeologists won't receive the evidence. Why? Because it's in the wrong time period. And I'm sitting there, I'm kind of like the guy going, well, change your time period. That doesn't make sense. How can you dig up a city the size of Jericho, look in the Bible, and read the Bible? Remember he said he found a tablet with the king's name on it that Joshua killed. How can you dig that up and not go, something's wrong and it's probably not the Bible? Well, first of all, you have to be someone who doesn't believe in the Bible. Amen? Okay. That's right. So this is where we're going to go. Now, the next film I'm going to work through may or may not be the Moses controversy, because I haven't watched it yet. I'm still tied down into going into chapter 2 and chapter 3, what's in chapter 1, and trying to nail down this chronology issue. It took me a long time to wrap my head around what they wanted to move. I kept thinking they wanted to shift the biblical dates, but they don't want to shift the biblical dates. They just want to shift the old kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the new kingdom. What happens is the Exodus and everything happened in the new kingdom, according to the current standard. But if they slide the scale, then it happens in the middle kingdom. And then everything lines up. Fascinating documentary. If the church wants to spend $100, we can, and you're willing to sit here. Well, I don't even know that we would sit here 2 hours. We might do it 1 hour one Sunday night, 1 hour another Sunday night. You can go to YouTube and rent it. Of course, you can go to the internet and buy it, for that matter. Some of us did. I was just that intrigued by it. But anyway. All right. So that's what we have tonight. Any questions? Seriously. Any questions?
Why would church want to buy it if you got a copy of it?
They're buying the license.
Oh.
The license is $100 for a church with less than 100 people. So
Somebody's got to make some money off of it.
somebody's got to make some money out of it. I started to send them an email and say, look, I got 3 copies in your book. Can I show it to my church? There's like 25 people that want to see it.
If there was no Exodus, there wouldn't be no Passover and all that.
Exactly. There wouldn't be a Passover. Now, one of the things that I didn't talk about this morning is when the Pharaoh had ordered these male children to be killed, the Jewish teaching is that he heard that there was going to be a Messiah born. A deliverer. Not the Messiah, but a Messiah, the way they worded it in the videos that I watched on their teaching. So he wanted to circumvent them having a king. Kind of like Herod did when he heard that Jesus was, man, it was like, wow, y'all believe that over here, but somehow you missed it over here. And then the 2 ladies, they're believed to be a mother and daughter team. And one rabbi's teaching believes that it's Miriam and her mother. Because, and the Bible says, what was the verse? God dealt well with them, and he made them houses. And remember, I broke down the word houses this morning. It was more of a dynasty than a brick and mortar home. And then you go on into the teaching of who Miriam's children were and how the lineage falls. And she marries into the tribe of Judah. And the seed's going to come that through her and Judah and her offspring and that type of thing. Yeah, a lot of teachings. The one thing we need to remember about their teachings is not to be so eager to dismiss them. They believe them. And they are the people of our God. Okay, so there's a lot of teachings in there. But we have to examine everything against what? The Bible. Against the Bible. If God had wanted us to know more about these two ladies, I believe He would have told us more about it. I think that the idea there was to learn that we're to be different.
Right.
We're to be different. I think that was so key because the Hebrew women are not the Egyptian women. They're lively. They're different. So there's a lot of teaching there. But anyway, various details to be brought out. I think we're going to have as good a time in Exodus as we had in Genesis. I think a lot of the fun's going to be working through the 10 plagues. But what good are the 10 plagues without Moses? And how do you get a Moses without everything else? So, shift the timeline. All right. I'll leave it at that. Deacons, if y'all want to purchase the license, let me know. Or if there's something else want to be done about that, we can go that route. Okay? All hearts and minds clear.